Good morning, everybody. I'm John, and this is the Midnight Paint and Body channel. In this video, we're going to be changing bedsides and wheelhouses on an '08 and up style Chevrolet truck. So here's our patient today. In this case, it's a 2008 Chevy 8-foot bed. So what we're going to be doing on this, we're going to be changing the bedsides and these outer wheelhouses. Now, pretty much anytime you see one of these trucks with rust issues, you can be pretty much guaranteed that these inners are rusted through as well. I have patched them in the past, and this is just a much better job to replace the whole piece. In this case, just in case you want it, there is the part number for the wheelhouse, and that is available through pretty much any auto parts store. And on this one, we are actually putting on OEM bedsides. I typically use aftermarket stuff, just because of cost, really. It's more cost effective for the customer, especially for rust repair stuff. But there is no aftermarket panels available for these, and even the OEM bedsides were really tough to get. But that being said, we're gonna get started. Now, to go over it quickly here, so the first steps of removing the bedside, you're gonna wanna locate all of these spot welds. Now you can clean her off a little bit. You can see they go all along that top lip. In this case, they go down this section. Yeah, they'll go down a little bit in the back as well. They are spot welded all the way around the lip. It's not gonna matter on this one because I know the inner is completely rotten, and we're not trying to save the inner, so we can just cut through everything there. And then of course, there's more of those spot welds down this front. So that part, it's pretty easy. You can get the spot weld cutters. Let's see if I got one sitting here. So these guys, I've showed you guys these before, and I mean, I've done bedside panel videos before, but I just figured, being that this one's a GM truck, haven't done it before, I'm doing the work anyway, may as well make a video. So these guys, you will drill a little pilot hole in the spot weld, and it's got that little guide. It's spring loaded. And then you just drill it in until that cuts the spot weld. You can see the cutter only goes in so far. I usually don't bother with these. I will just grab a good sharp drill bit, something bigger than the spot weld. I've done a million of these, but I will just drill into the top part of the spot weld. You don't want to drill all the way through because we don't want a hole in the back. But if you just drill part way through, you can usually tell when you're where you need to be. Then it's all going to come apart, and I mean, I'll air chisel it apart in the end anyway. But so I'm going to get started drilling some spot welds, and yeah, not very exciting, but I'll keep the camera going a little bit. So just to give you kind of an idea, when I say not drilling all the way through, see, I just kind of drill through the top sheet metal. Sometimes they even just pop as you're drilling them. That's kind of what we're going for. So that one was still held on a little bit. But you see, you can pretty easily do that just with a hammer and punch. I'll use the air chisel and make quick work of that, but just to show you, you can do this with, you know, really basic tools. The only real kind of pricey thing you need if you want to tackle this yourself is a welder. So I've got all the spot welds drilled. Now I have found in the past, you can either just zip cut all the way along that top, pop the box side off, and then take this inside lip off. But I have found that if you drill these just right, you can usually pop the, see, you can pop the welds free. So it doesn't always work, but it's a bit of a speedy way to do it. See, okay, so there's the box side off. Fought me a little bit, but nothing too serious. So you can see what I was talking about with these inners. I knew they were rusted through. There's really nothing left of them. And this truck's a 2008. It's already had rust repair done at some point, and the repair panels were glued in. And I could see, actually I knew they were glued in, I could tell. Let's see, light's not very good over here, but so I don't know if you guys can see in the camera those spots. So that is where somebody has drilled this, held the patch in place probably with self-tapping screws, and then filled those holes with structural adhesive. Now the way structural adhesive works, it has to be clamped. It has to have that compression. So doing rust repair like this, the only way you can clamp that, you can't get clamps in there, is to screw it or rivet it. I have done these this way. I don't really like doing it, but I prefer to weld. But it definitely has its place. There's sometimes where the adhesive is a better option. Rather than filling holes with glue, what I like to do is use stainless rivets. I will dip the stainless rivets in glue and then rivet the panel on so that glue is squishing out around the inside and the outside. And then I always try and treat the inside. You can get up in there and get some undercoat or get something up in there so you don't have that exposed flange. But yeah, anyway, just a little investigation on what's been done on this truck before. So let's go back over here and let's start cutting off that inner wheelhouse, or outer wheelhouse, I guess it is. Yeah, I guess that would be the inner wheelhouse. That would be the outer wheelhouse. So as you saw, I've got everything cleaned up. I've ground the area that we're going to be welding to with the new wheelhouse. Now, I'm just going to punch some holes for plug welds around the perimeter of this guy, and we'll get her in place. So these are a super awkward thing to weld in place because you've got to get right up in there with the weld. They pretty much line up where they need to be. You see these do have factory alignment marks, but they're kind of gone at this point. I believe this was one of them. So I've got a pretty good idea where this panel needs to land. As long as it's centered, you're typically good on these. Okay, so we've got the wheelhouse in place with the old ratchet strap and a couple of self-tappers, so you can see it's a nice tight fit all the way around. So I'm going to roll the welder over here and burn this thing into place. So if you've watched my videos in the past, this is a little extra step I always like to do. Take some kind of rust preventative paint and coat all the inside of these panels before I put the new panel on. I mean, obviously it's not going to last forever, but sealing this stuff up is going to make it last longer for sure. POR 15 is about the best, but Trunclad or Rust-Oleum or whatever works as well. Okay, so there's just a quick coat of rust paint on all the inners. Like I said, that's not like restoration quality stuff, but the way I figure, it's going to keep it so that the water and dirt isn't soaking into the exposed rust that's there. So it's going to keep it good a little longer. Just a little extra step, couple bucks for the paint, not a big thing. So I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes while I think I'll go take a coffee break. And I'll come back and we'll start prepping up that box side to install. All right, let's open up a new bed panel. Isn't that like a thing on the internet? On packaging things people like to watch or something? That's pretty exciting. So, usually you check your panels first in case they're damaged, so you have time to return it and get an undamaged one. But these were like the only ones in existence, these bed panels for this truck, so I don't see any dents. Looks like we're good to go. Okay, so back on the Chevy box side. It's actually the next day. I got kind of sidetracked finishing up a different job there yesterday. But I have gone ahead on this. I have ground clean all the areas we're going to be welding to. Put on some weld through primer. See, around the lip. And, everywhere that it's going to need the plug welds. So next, we're going to take this bedside. I'm just going to be punching some holes to redo those plug welds, putting this bedside back on the truck. Now these ones are a little tricky along this flange that we're going to be welding to. Well, not tricky, but so you actually kind of need to measure these ones because they've got these funny gaps. Like most trucks just have a solid piece all the way, so you can just plug the holes. And there'll be metal to weld to, but these ones, if you just randomly put the holes in, you might miss with some of them. So I'm just going to measure this up, flip this over, and get it ready to throw on there. We're ready to toss that box side on there. Now, these will fight you every time. They're always a bit of wiggling and trying to get them over the ends and into place. But helps if you have a helper. All right, I have a confession to make. It's been about 45 minutes since I was trying to put that bedside on. And I realized that in my haste and being human, I welded on the wrong wheelhouse. I welded the right onto the left side. Now they're very similar, they fit, but the wheel lip won't quite fit when they're reversed. So I spent the last 45 minutes drilling off the one I had already welded on, which I welded on really good, by the way. And now I have the correct one welded in place. So once again, I'm gonna hang the box side on there. All right, so she's in place. Go around with a few clamps and start welding her on. After I take a break, it's getting hot in here. So there's the first panel all welded on. I've just gone around and cleaned up the welds a little bit. And of course, putting the inner wheelhouse in, you end up burning the paint on the inside of the box. And of course, I made it a little worse for myself, being that I welded in the wrong one the first time. But that's okay. Minor setback. There's the wheelhouse. So as you can see, that is a pretty straightforward process. Now, if you have a welder and some basic tools, I'm pretty sure you can handle that job at home. If you don't have a welder, you could use structural adhesive and glue the panel on. Not the best way to do it. I prefer welding, but structural adhesive works too. So hopefully that helps somebody out. I just figured I was doing the job, I'd make a video. I'm just going to leave it here. I don't know if anyone's interested in seeing the paint process of new parts. Let me know in the comments. That's something I can do if it's something somebody wants to see, wants to learn. As always, thanks so much for watching. I hope you come back for the next one.